Hello everyone and welcome to another chapter of reading. This is the second to last chapter of the book. Can you believe it? We're almost done with book number 3. It's amazing how much time flies, isn't it? Well, let's get started. Oh yes, I have a few surprises in store too. I hope you like them. Chapter 21. Hermione's Secret. Shocking business. Shocking miracle. None of them had their lives ended. Never heard the like. By thunder, it was lucky with their name. The minister. Order of Merlin, second class, I'd say. First class, if I can wangle it. Thank you very much indeed, minister. Nasty cut you got there. Waxworth, I suppose. As a matter of fact, it was Potter, Weasley, and Granger, minister. No, luck had bewitched them. I saw it immediately. A confungus charm to judge by their behavior. They seemed to think there was a possibility he was innocent. They weren't responsible for the actions. On the other hand, their interference might have permitted Black to escape. They obviously thought they were going to catch Black single-handed. They got away with a great deal before now. I'm afraid it's given them a rather high opinion of themselves. And of course, Potter has always been around an extraordinary amount of license by the headmaster. Well, my Harry Potter, we've all got a bit of a blind spot where he's concerned. And yet, is it good for him to be given such special treatment? Personally, I try and treat him like any other student. Yeah, right. You do not treat him like any other student. In previous chapters from previous books and this book combined, and even future ones, as we'll dive into, are anything to account for. So no, you do not treat him like any other student. I'm sure everyone can vouch for me on that. And any other student would be suspended, at the very least, for leading his friends into such danger. Consider, minister, against all school rules. After all, in place for his protections out of bounds at night, consulting with the werewolf and a murderer. And I have reason to believe he has been visiting Hogsmeade legally too. I still wonder why they need parents' permission to go to a village a fair distance between the school and the village, but they sure don't need their parents' permission to get into the school. Doesn't that bewilder anyone? Well, we shall see, Snape. We shall see. The boy has undoubtedly been foolish. Harry lay listening with his eyes tight shut. He felt very groggy. The words he was hearing seemed to be traveling very slowly from his ears to his brain so that it was difficult to understand. His legs felt like lead, his eyelids too heavy to lift. He wanted to lie here on this comfortable bed forever. Oh, I know the feeling. When I get in a comfortable position, I do not want to move whatsoever. Even disturb. I don't want disturb whatsoever. What amazes me most is the behavior of the Dementors. You've really no idea what made them retreat tonight. No, Minister. By the time I had come round, they were headed back to their positions at the entrances. Extraordinary. And yet Black Harry and the girl, all unconscious by the time I reached them. I found and muffled Black, naturally conjured stretchers, then brought them all straight back to the castle. There was a pause. Harry's brain seemed to be moving a little faster, and as it did, a gnawing sensation grew in the pit of his stomach. He opened his eyes. Everything was slightly blurred. Somebody had removed his glasses. He was lying in the dark hospital wing. At the very end of the ward, Harry could make out Madame Pomfrey with her back to him bending over a bed. Harry squinted. Ron's red hair was visible beneath Madame Pomfrey's arm. Harry moved his head over on the pillow. In the bed to his right lay Hermione. Moonlight was falling across her bed. Her eyes were open too. She looked petrified, and when she saw that Harry was awake, pressed a finger to her lips, then pointed to the hospital wing door. It was ajar, and the voices of Cornelius Fudge and Snape were coming through it from the corridor outside. Madame Pomfrey now came walking briskly up the dark ward to Harry's bed. He turned to look at her. She was carrying the largest block of chocolate he had ever seen in his life. It looked like a small boulder. Oh, I love chocolate. But One wonders how that would look in the real world. I'm trying to visualize for a moment. Certainly sounds delicious, though. Ah, you're awake, she said briskly. She placed the chocolate on Harry's bedside table and began breaking it apart with a small hammer. A hammer to break apart chocolate. One hopes the chocolate's hollow. How's Ron? Said Harry and Hermione together. Hello, said Madame Pomfrey grimly. That's for you too. You'll be staying here until I'm satisfied you're... Potter, what do you think you're doing? Harry was sitting up, putting his glasses back on and picking up his wand. I need to see the headmaster, he said. Potter, said Madame Pomfrey soothingly. It's all right. We've got back. He's locked away upstairs. The Dementors will be performing the kiss any moment now. What? Harry jumped out of bed. Hermione had done the same, but his shout had been heard in the corridor outside. Next second, Cornelius Fudge and Snape had entered the ward. Harry, what's this? Said Fudge, looking agitated. You should be fed. Has he had any chocolate? Yes, Madame Pomfrey, anxiously. Minister, listen, Harry said. Sirius Black's innocent. Peter Pettigrew faked his ending. We saw him tonight. You can't let the Dementors do that thing to Sirius. But Fudge was shaking his head with a small smile on his face. Harry, you're very confused. You've been through a dreadful ordeal. Lie back down now. You've got everything under control. You haven't, Harry yelled. You've got the wrong man. Minister, listen, please, Hermione said. She had hurried to Harry's side and was gazing importantly into Fudge's face. I saw him too. It was Ron's rat. He's an Animagus Pettigrew, I mean. And you should, Minister, said they confounded both of them. Black's done a very good job on them. He escaped when Professor Lupin transformed into a werewolf. He's a rat. Sirius. Wrong name. Pettigrew's from Finger. He got it off. Pettigrew attacked Ron. It wasn't serious. But Dumbledore held his hand to stir the flood of explanations. It is your turn to listen, and I beg you will not interrupt me, because there is very little time, he said quietly. There is not a shred of proof to support Black's story, except your word. And the word of two 13-year-old wizards will not convince anybody. Okay, hold up. If this is, like, what, June 1993, then technically Hermione's 14! Like, really, think about it. She was born in 1979 on the 19th of September. If this is June 1990... Oh, yeah. She would be 13. Never mind. It's right. She would be 13. My mind's still and a little tired. I apologize. But either way, technically, Hermione's timeline goes as follows. In Sorcerer's Stone, she's 11/12. In Chamber of Secrets, she's 12/13. In Prisoner of Azkaban, she's 13/14. In Goblet of Fire, she's 14/15. In Order of the Phoenix, she's 15/16. In Half-Blood Prince, she's 16/17. And in Deathly Hallows, she's 17/18. Because of the technicality that she was born on the 19th of September in 1979. I figured this out a while ago. But yeah, there's that small technicality I wanted to explain. Anyhow, a street full of eyewitnesses swore they saw Sirius and Pettigrew's life. I myself gave evidence to the ministry that Sirius had been the Potter's secret cave back. Professor Lupin can tell you, Harry said, unable to stop himself. Professor Lupin is currently deep in the forest, unable to tell anyone anything. By the time he is human again, it will be too late. Sirius will be worse than ended. I might add that werewolves are so mistrusted by most of our kind that his support will count very little. And the fact that he and Sirius are old friends. But, listen to me, Harry. It is too late, you understand me? You must see Professor Snape's version of events is far more convincing than yours. He hates Sirius, Hermione said desperately. All because some stupid trick Sirius played on him. Sirius has not acted like an innocent man. The attack on the fat lady, entering Gryffindor Tower with a knife, without Pettigrew, lived or ended. We have no chance of overturning Sirius's sentence. But you believe us. Yes, I do, said Dumbledore quietly. But I have no power to make other men see the truth, or to overrule the Minister of Magic. Yeah, I suppose that would make sense. I mean, ministers technically outweigh the church board's principles, if you will, but at the same time they are counteracted by the sovereign, in which our current sovereign is King Charles III. God save the king! So, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Harry stared up into the great base and felt as though the ground beneath him were falling sharply away. He had grown used to the idea that Dumbledore could solve anything. Oh, Harry, we're all human, whether you like it or not. He had expected Dumbledore to pull some amazing solution out of the air. But no, their last hope was gone. What we need, said Dumbledore more slowly, and his light blue eyes moved from Harry to Hermione, is more time. But, Hermione began, and then her eyes became very round. Oh! Now pay attention, said Dumbledore, speaking very low and very clearly. Sirius is locked in Professor Flitwick's office on the 7th floor. 13th window from
the ride of West Tower. If all goes well, you'll be able to save more than one innocent lifetime. But remember this, both of you. You must not be seen. Miss Granger, you know the law. You know what is at stake. You must not be seen. Harry didn't have a clue what was going on. Dumbledore had turned on his heel and looked back as he reached the door. I'm going to walk you in. It is consulted his watch. 5 minutes to midnight. Miss Granger. 3 turns should do it. Good luck.
Good luck, Harry repeated as the door closed behind Dumbledore.
3 turns. What is he talking about? What are we supposed to do?
But Hermione was fumbling with the neck of her robes, pulling from beneath them a very long, very fine gold chain.
Harry, come here, she said. Quick!
Harry moved toward her, completely bewildered. She was holding the chain out. He saw a tiny sparkling hourglass hanging from it.
Here!
She had thrown the chain around his neck, too. Okay, pretend my stuffed bunny's Harry. And prop, case prop. By the way, my bunny seems to be soggy. But for now, pretend she's Harry.
Ready?
She said breathlessly.
What are we doing?
Harry said, completely lost. Hermione turned the hourglass over 3 times. The dark world dissolved. Harry had the sensation that he was flying fast, very fast backward. A blur of colors and shapes rushed past him. His ears were pounding. He tried to yell but couldn't hear his own voice. And then he felt solid ground beneath his feet and everything came into focus again. He was standing next to Hermione in the deserted entrance hall, and a stream of golden sunlight was falling across the paved floor from the open front doors. He looked wildly at Hermione, the chain of the hourglass still cutting into his neck.
Hermione, what? In here!
Hermione seized Harry's arm and dragged him across the hall to the door of a broom closet. She opened it, pushed him aside among the buckets of mops, then slammed the door behind them. Thanks, Usagi.
What? How? Hermione, what happened?
We've gone back in time, Hermione whispered, lifting the chain off Harry's neck in the darkness.
3 hours back.
Harry found his own leg and gave it a very hard pinch. It hurt a lot, which seemed to rule out the possibility that he was having a very bizarre dream. But
Someone's coming. I think it might be us.
Hermione had her ear pressed against the cupboard door.
Footsteps across the hall. Yes, I think it's us going down to Hagrid's.
Are you telling me, Harry whispered,
that we're here in this cupboard and we're out there too?
Yes, said Hermione, her ear still glued to the cupboard door.
I'm sure it's us. Doesn't sound like more than 3 people.
And we're walking slowly because our thing is physical. She broke off, still listening to him.
We've gone down the front steps.
Hermione sat down on an upturned bucket, looking desperately anxious, but Harry wanted a few questions answered.
Where did you get that hourglass thing?
It's called a time turner, Hermione whispered.
and I got it from Professor McGonagall on her first day back. I've been using it all year to get to all my lessons. Professor McGonagall made me swear I wouldn't tell anyone. She had to write all sorts of letters to the Ministry of Magic so I could have one. She had to tell them that I was a model student and that I'd never ever used it for anything except my studies. I've been turning it back so I can do hours over again. But that's how I've been doing several lessons at once, see? But Harry, I don't understand what Dumbledore wants us to do. Why did he tell us to go back 3 hours? How's that going to help Sirius? Harry stared at her shadowy face. There must be something that happened around now if he wants us to change, he said slowly. What happened? We were walking down to Hagrid's 3 hours ago. This is 3 hours ago. And we are walking down to Hagrid's, said Hermione. Just heard ourselves leaving. Harry frowned. He felt as though he were screwing up his whole brain in concentration. Dumbledore just said we could save more than one innocent life. And then it hit him. Hermione, we're going to save Buckbeak. Dumbledore? But how would that help Sirius? Dumbledore said he just told us where the window is. The window that looks off it. If we've got Sirius locked up, we've got to fly Buckbeak up to the window and rescue Sirius. Sirius can escape on Buckbeak. They can escape together. From what Harry could see of Hermione's face, she looked terrified. If we manage that without being seen, it'll be a miracle. Well, we've got to try, haven't we? Said Harry. He stood up and pressed his ear against the door. Doesn't sound like anyone's there. Come on, let's go. Harry pushed the closet door open. The entrance hall was deserted. As quietly and quickly as they could, they darted out of the closet and down the stone steps. The shadows were already lengthening. The tops of trees in the forbidden forest glided once more with gold. If anyone's looking out the window, Hermione squeaked, looking up at the castle behind him. Move on forward, said Harry determinedly. Straight into the forest, all right? We'll have to hide behind a tree or something and keep a lookout. Okay, but we'll go around the greenhouses, said Hermione recklessly. We need to keep out of sight of Hagrid's front door, or we'll see us. We must be nearly at Hagrid's by now. Still working out what she meant, Harry set off at a sprint, Hermione behind him. They tore across the vegetable gardens to the greenhouses, paused for a moment behind them, then set off again as fast as they could, skirting around the lawn below, tearing toward the shelter of the forest. Safe in the shadows of the trees, Harry turned around. Seconds later, Hermione arrived beside him, panting. Right, she gasped. We need to sneak over to Hagrid's. Keep out of sight, Harry. They made their way silently through the trees, keeping to the very edge of the forest. Then, as they glimpsed the front of Hagrid's house, they heard a knock upon his door. They moved quickly behind the wide oak trunk and peered out from either side. Hagrid had appeared in his doorway, shaking and white, looking around to see who had knocked. And Harry heard his own voice. It's us. My name is Medico. Let us in and we can take it off. You shouldn't have come, Hagrid whispered. He stood back, then shut the door very quickly. This is the weirdest thing we've ever done. Harry said fervently. Let's move it on a bit, Hermione whispered. We need to get nearer to Buckbeak. They crept through the trees until they saw the nervous hippogriff tethered to the fence around Hagrid's pumpkin patch. No, Harry whispered. No, said Hermione. If we steal him now, those committee people would think Hagrid's free. We've got to wait until they've seen he's tied outside. It's going to give us about 60 seconds, said Harry. This was starting to seem impossible. At that moment, there was a crash of breaking china from inside Hagrid's cabin. That's Hagrid breaking the milk jug, Hermione whispered. We're going to fight the scabbards in the moment. Sure enough, a few minutes later, they heard Hermione's shriek of surprise. Hermione, Harry said suddenly, if we just run in there and grab Pettigrew. No, said Hermione in a terrified whisper. Don't you understand? We're breaking one of the most important wizarding laws. Nobody's supposed to change time. Nobody. You heard Dumbledore. If we're singing, we'd only be singing by ourselves and Hagrid. Harry, what do you think you'd do if you saw yourself bursting into Hagrid's house? Said Hermione. I think I'd go mad. Or I think there'd be some dark magic going on. Exactly. You wouldn't understand. You might even attack yourself. Don't you see? Professor McGonagall told me that what awful things have happened when wizards have meddled with time. Most of them ended up ending their past or future selves by mistake. Okay, said Harry. It was just an idea. Just one. But Hermione nudged him and pointed toward the castle. Harry moved his head a few inches to get a clear view of the distant front door. Dumbledore, Fudge, and the old committee member, and McNair, the executioner, were coming down the steps. We're about to come out, Hermione breathed. And sure enough, moments later, Hagrid's back door opened, and Harry saw himself, Ron, and Hermione walking out of it with Hagrid. It was without a doubt the strangest sensation of his life, standing behind the tree and watching himself in the pumpkin patch. It's okay, Beaky. It's okay, Hagrid said to Buckbeak. Then he turned to Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Come on, get going. Hagrid, we can't. Tell them what really happened. We can't kill them. Go. It's bad enough without you lot in trouble and all. Harry watched Hermione in the pumpkin patch through the invisibility cloak over him and Ron. Go quick. Don't listen. There was a knock on Hagrid's front door. The execution party had arrived. Hagrid turned around and headed back into his cabin, leaving the back door ajar. Harry watched the grass flattening patches all around the cabin and heard 3 pairs of feet retreating. He, Ron, and Hermione had gone. But the Harry and Hermione hidden in the trees could now hear what was happening inside the cabin through the back door. Where is the beast? Came the cold voice of McNair. Oh, outside. Harry pulled his head out of sight as McNair's face appeared at Hagrid's window, staring out at Buckbeak. Then they heard Buck. We have to read you the official notice of the execution, Hagrid. I'll make it quick. And then you and McNair need to sign it. McNair, you're supposed to listen too. That's procedure. McNair's face vanished from the window. It was now or never. Wait here, Harry whispered to Hermione. Don't do it. As Fudge's voice started again, Harry darted out from behind his tree. vaulted the fence into the pumpkin patch and approached Buckbeak. It is the decision of the Committee for the Disposal of Dangerous Creatures that the Hippogriff Buckbeak, hereafter called the Condemned, shall be executed on the 6th of June at sundown. Careful not to blink, Harry stared up into Buckbeak's fierce, strained eyes once more and bowed. That's your cue to bow, viewers. Buckbeak sank into his scaly knees and then stood up again. Harry began to fumble with the knot of rope tying Buckbeak to the fence. Sentenced to execution by beheading to be carried out by the committee's appointed executioner, Walden McNair. Come on, Buckbeak, Harry murmured. Come on, we're going to help you. Quietly, quietly. As witness below. Hagrid, you said yeah. Harry threw all his weight onto the rope. Buckbeak had dug in his front feet. Good, let's get this over with, said the reedy voice of the committee member from inside Hagrid's cabin. Hagrid, perhaps it'll be better if you stay inside. No, I want to be with him. I don't want him to be alone. Footsteps echoed from within the cabin. Buckbeak, move! Harry hissed. Harry tugged harder on the rope around Buckbeak's neck. The hippogriff began to walk, rustling its wings irritably. They were still 10 feet away from the forest in plain view of Hagrid's back door. One moment, please, McNair, came Dumbledore's voice. You need to sign too. The footsteps stopped. Harry heaved on the rope. Buckbeak snapped his beak and walked a little faster. Hermione's white face was sticking out from behind a tree. Harry, hurry! She mouthed. Harry could still hear Dumbledore's voice talking from within the cabin. He gave the rope another wrench. Buckbeak broke into a grudging trot. They had reached the trees. Quick, quick! Hermione moaned, darting out from behind her tree, seizing the rope too and adding her weight to make Buckbeak move faster. Harry looked over his shoulder. They were now blocked from sight. They couldn't see Hagrid's garden at all. Stop, he whispered to Hermione. They might hear us. Hagrid's back door had opened with a bang. Harry, Hermione, and Buckbeak stood quite still. Even the hippogriff seemed to be listening intently. Silence. Then, where is it? Said the reedy voice of the committee member. Where is the beast? It was tied here, said the executioner fiercely. I saw it, just here. How extraordinary, said Dumbledore. There was a note of amusement in his voice. Biggie, said Hagrid huskily. There was a swishing noise and the thud of an axe. The executioner seemed to have swung it into the fence in anger. And then came the howling. This time they could hear Hagrid's words through his song. Gone, gone. That's his little beak. He's gone. Must have pulled himself free. Beaky, a clever boy. Buckbeak started to strain against the rope, trying to get back to Hagrid. Harry and Hermione tightened their grip and dug their heels into the forest floor to stop it. Someone untied him. The executioner was silent. We should search the ground. The forest. McNair, the puppy has indeed been stolen. Do you really think the thief would have got him away on foot? Said Dumbledore, still sounding amused. Search the skies, if you will. Hagrid, I could do with a cup of tea, or a large brandy. Of course, Professor, said Hagrid, who sounded weak with happiness. Come in, come in. Harry and Hermione listened closely. They heard footsteps, the soft cursing of the executioner. I dare not repeat. The snap of the door, and then silence once more. Now what? Whispered Harry, looking around. We'll have to hide in here, said Hermione, who looked very shaken. We need to wait until they've gone back to the castle. Then we wait until it's safe to fly Buckbeak up to Sirius's window. We won't be there for another couple of hours. Oh, this is going to be difficult. She looked nervously over her shoulder into the depths of the forest. The sun was setting now. We're going to have to move, said Harry, thinking for her. We've got to be able to see them from little, or we won't know what's going on. Okay, said Hermione, getting a firmer grip on Buckbeak's robe. But we've got to keep out of sight, Harry. Remember. They moved around the edge of the forest, darkness falling thickly around them until they were hidden behind a clump of trees through which they could make out the willow. There's Ron, said Harry suddenly. A dark figure was sprinting across the lawn, and its shout echoed through still the night air. Get away from him! Get away! Scholars, come here! And then they saw two more figures materialize out of nowhere. Harry watched himself and Hermione chasing after Ron. Then he saw Ron dive. Gotcha! Get off, you stinking fly!
Cats are not quote-unquote stinking. They are amazing companions. At least in my opinion.
They're serious, said Harry. The great shape of the dog head bounded out from the roots of the willow. They saw him bowl Harry over, then seize her on. Looks even worse from here, doesn't it? Said Harry, watching the dog pulling Ron into the roots. Ouch. Look, I just got robbed by the tree. So did you. This is weird. The lumping willow was creaking and lashing out with its lower branches. They could see themselves starting here and there trying to reach the trunk. And then the tree froze. Those crook strings pressing the knots, said Hermione. And there we go. And there we go, Harry muttered. We're in. The moment they disappeared, the tree began to move again. Seconds later, they heard footsteps quite close by. Dumbledore, McNair, Fudge, and the old committee member were making their way up to the castle. Right after we'd gone down into the passage, said Hermione. If only Dumbledore had come with us. McNair and Fudge would have come too, said Harry bitterly. I bet you anything Fudge would have told McNair to murder Sirius on the spot. They watched the four men climb the castle steps and disappear from view. For a few minutes the scene was deserted. Then, here comes Lupin, said Harry as they saw another figure sprinting down the stone steps and heading toward the willow. Harry looked up at the sky. Clouds were obscuring the moon completely. They watched Lupin seize a broken branch from the ground and prod the knot on the trunk. The tree stopped swinging, and Lupin, too, disappeared into the gap in its roots. he'd grab the Coke, said Harry. It's just mine then. He turned to Hermione. If I had just dashed out now and grabbed it, we'd never been able to get it. And Harry, we mustn't be seen. How can you stand this? He asked Hermione fiercely. Just standing here and watching it happen. He hesitated. I'm going to grab the coat. Harry, no! Hermione seized the back of Harry's robe not a moment too soon. Just then they heard a burst of song. It was Hagrid making his way up to the castle, singing at the top of his voice and leaving slightly as he walked. A large bottle was swinging from his hands. See? Hermione whispered. See what would have happened? The goat came out of sight. No, Buckbeak! The hippogriff was making frantic attempts to get to Hagrid again. Harry seized his rope too, straining to hold Buckbeak back. They watched Hagrid meander tipsily up to the castle. He was gone. Buckbeak stopped fighting to get away. His head drooped sadly. Barely 2 minutes later, the castle doors flew open yet again, and Snape came charging out of them, running toward the willow. Harry's fist clenched as they saw Snape get to a halt next to the tree, looking around. He grabbed the cloak and held it up. Get your filthy hands off of it. Harry snarled under his breath. Shush! Snape seized the branch Lupin had used to raise the tree, prodded the knot, and vanished from view as he put on the cloak. So that's it, said Hermione quietly. We're all done there, and now we've just got to wait until we come back up again. She took the end of Buckbeak's rope and tied it securely around the nearest tree, then sat down on the dry ground, arms around her knees. Harry, there's something I don't understand. Why didn't the Dementors get serious? I remember them coming, and then I think I passed out. There were so many of them. Harry sat down too. He explained what he'd seen, how as the nearest Dementor had lowered its mouth to Harry's, a large silver something had come galloping across the lake and forced the Dementors to retreat. Hermione's mouth was slightly open by the time Harry had finished. But what was it? There's only one thing it could have been to make the Dementors go, said Harry. A real Patronus, a powerful one. But who conjured it? Harry didn't say anything. He was thinking back to the person he had seen on the other bank of the lake. He knew he thought it had been, but how could it have been? Didn't you see what they looked like? Said Hermione eagerly. Was it one of the teachers? No, said Harry. He wasn't a teacher. But it must have been a really powerful wizard to drive all those Dementors away. If the Patronus was shining so brightly, didn't it light him up? Couldn't you see? It told him, said Harry slowly. But maybe I imagined it. I wasn't thinking straight. I passed out right afterward. Who did you think it was? I think... Harry swallowed, knowing how strange this was going to sound. I think it was my dad. Harry glanced up at Hermione and saw that her mouth was fully open now. She was gazing at him with a mixture of alarm and pity. Harry, your dad's... well, gone, she said quietly. I know that. said Harry quickly. You think you saw his ghost? I don't know. No, they look solid. But then, maybe I was seeing things, said Harry. But from what I could see, it looked like him. I've got photos of him. Hermione was still looking at him as though worried about his sanity. I know it sounds crazy, said Harry Potter. He turned to look at Buckbeak, who was digging his beak into the ground, apparently searching for worms. But he wasn't really watching Buckbeak. He was thinking about his father and his 3 oldest friends. Moony, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Tom. Had all 4 of them been out on the grass tonight? Wormtail had reappeared this evening when everyone had thought he was gone. Was it so impossible if his father had done the same? Had he been seeing things across the lake? The figure had been too far away to see distinctly, yet he had felt sure for a moment before he lost consciousness. The leaves overhead rustled faintly in the breeze. The moon drifted in and out of sight behind the shifting clouds. Hermione sat with her face toward the well, waiting. And then at last, after over an hour, "Here we come," Hermione whispered. She and Harry got to their feet. Buckbeak raised his head. They saw Lupin, Ron, and Pettigrew clambering awkwardly out of the hole in the roots, followed by the unconscious Snape drifting weirdly upward. Next came Harry, Hermione, and Sirius. They all began to walk toward the castle. Harry's heart was starting to beat very fast. He glanced up at the sky. Any moment now that cloud was going to move aside and show the moon. Harry, Hermione muttered as though she knew exactly what he was thinking. We've got to stay put. We mustn't be seen. There's nothing we can do. So we're just going to let Pettigrew escape all over again? Harry said quietly. How do you expect to find a rat in the dark? Lumos. Or Lumos Maxima. I'm sure those would be very helpful. Stopped Hermione. There's nothing we can do. We came back to help Sirius. We're not supposed to be doing anything else. Right. The moon slid out from behind its cloud. They saw the tiny figures across the ground stop. Then they saw movement. There goes Lupin, Hermione whispered. He's transforming. Hermione, said Harry suddenly, we've got to move. I mustn't. I keep telling you not to interfere. Lupin's going to run into the forest right at us. Hermione gasped. Quick! She moaned, dashing to untie Buffy. Quick! What are we going to do? Where are we going to hide?
The Dementors would be coming at any moment. Back to Hagrid's, Harry said. It's empty now. Come. They ran as fast as they could, Buckbeak cantering along behind them. They could hear the werewolf howling behind them. The cabin was in sight. Harry skidded to the door. Ron stood open, and Buckbeak and Hermione flashed past him. Harry threw himself in after them and bolted the door. Fane the Boarhound barked loudly. Shh, Fane, it's us, said Hermione, hurrying over and scratching his ears to quiet him. It was really close, she said to Harry. Yeah. Harry was looking out of the window. It was much harder to see what was going on from here. Buckbeak seemed very happy to find himself back inside Hagrid's house. He lay down in front of the fire, folded his wings contentedly, and seemed ready for a good nap. A good nap sounds right to me, too. I think we'd better go outside again, said Harry's wife. Can't see what's going on. We won't know when it's time. Hermione looked up. Her expression was suspicious. I'm not going to try and interfere, said Harry quickly. But if we don't see what's going on, how are we going to know when it's time to rescue Sirius? Okay then. I'll wait here with Buckbeak. But Harry, be careful. There's a werewolf out there, and the Dementors. Harry stepped outside again and edged around the cabin. He could hear yelping in the distance. That meant the Dementors were closing in on Sirius. He and Hermione would be running to him any moment. Harry stared out toward the lake, his heart doing a tiny drum in his chest. Whoever had sent that Patronus would be appearing any moment now. For a fraction of a second he stood irresolute in front of Hagrid's door. He must not be seen. But he didn't want to be seen. He wanted to do the same. He had to know. And there were the Mentors. They were emerging out of the darkness from every direction, gliding around the edges of the lake. They were moving away from where Harry stood to the opposite bank. He wouldn't have to get near them. Harry began to run. He had no thought in his head except his father. If it really was him, he had to know. Had to find out. The lake was coming nearer and nearer, but there was no sign of anybody. On the opposite bank he could see tiny glimmers of silver, his own attempt at a Patronus. There was a bush at the very edge of the water. Harry threw himself behind it, peering desperately through the leaves. On the opposite bank, the glimmers of silver were suddenly extinguished. A terrified excitement shot through any moment now. Come on, he muttered, staring about. How are you? Dad, come on. But no one came. Harry raised his head to look at the circle of Dementors across the lake. One of them was lowering its hood. It was time for the rescuer to appear, but no one was coming to help this time. And then it hit him. He understood. He hadn't seen his father. He had seen himself. Harry found himself up from behind the bush and pulled out his own wand. Expecto Patronum! And there it was. Let's see. And out of the end of his wand burst not a shapeless cloud of mist, but a blinding, dazzling, silver animal. He screwed up his eyes, trying to see what it was. It looked like a horse. It was galloping silently away from him, across the black surface of the lake. He saw it lower its head and charge at the swarming Dementors. Now thinking it was going around and around the black shapes on the ground and the Dementors were falling back, scattering, retreating into the darkness. They were gone. The Patronus turned. It was cantering back toward Harry across the still surface of the water. It wasn't a horse. It wasn't a unicorn either. It was a stag, shining brightly as the moon above. It was coming back to him. It stopped on the bank. Its hooves made no mark on the soft ground as it stared at Harry with its large silver eyes. Slowly it bowed its antlered head, and Harry realized "Bronze," he whispered. But as his trembling fingertips stretched toward the creature, it vanished. Harry stood there, hands still outstretched. Then with a great leap of his heart he heard hoofs behind him. He whirled around and saw Hermione dashing toward him, dragging Buckbeak behind her. "What did you do?" she said fiercely. "You said you were only going to keep a lookout." "I just saved all our lives," said Harry. "Get behind here, behind this bush. I'll explain." Hermione listened to what had just happened with her mouth open yet again. "Did anyone see you?" "Yes, haven't you been listening?" "I saw me, but I thought it was my dad." "It's okay." "Harry, I can't believe it. You conjured up a Patronus that drove away all other Dementors. That's very, very advanced magic." And thus, this brings me another bit of potty trivia. Harry is the youngest magical being to produce a full corporal Patronus at the age of 13. I personally would like to beat that record because I'd like to credit me producing my Patronus, which is a Siberian cat, by the way, at 12. At least in my wizarding years. Anyhow, "I knew I could do it this time," said Harry, "because I'd already done it." "Does that make sense?" "I don't know. Look, Harry, look at Snape." Together they peered around the bush at the other bank. Snape had regained consciousness. He was conjuring stretchers and lifting the limp forms of Harry, Hermione, and Black onto them. A fourth stretcher, no doubt for Ron, was already floating at his side. Then one held out in front of him. He moved them away toward the castle. "Right, it's nearly time," said Hermione, tensely looking at her watch. "We've got about 45 minutes until Dumbledore locks the door to the hospital. We've got to rescue Sirius and get back into the wand before anybody realizes we're missing." They waited, watching the moving clouds reflected in the way, while the bush next to them whispered in the breeze. Buckbeak, bored, was ferreting for worms again. "Do you reckon he's up there yet?" said Harry, checking his watch. He looked up at the castle and began counting the windows to the right of the west tower. "Look! Who's that?" Hermione whispered. "Someone's coming back out of the castle." Harry stared through the darkness. The man was hurrying across the grounds toward one of the entrances. Something shiny glinted in his belt. "McNair," said Harry. "The executioner. He's going to get the Dementors. This is it, Hermione." Hermione put her hands on Buckbeak's back and Harry gave her a leg up. Then he placed his foot on one of the lower branches of the bush and climbed up in front of her. He pulled Buckbeak's rope back over his neck and tied it to the other side of his collar like reins. "Ready?" he whispered to Hermione. "You'd better hold on to me."
He nudged Buckbeak's sides with his heels. Buckbeak soared straight into the dark air. Harry gripped his legs to his knees, feeling the great wings rising powerfully beneath them. Hermione was holding Harry very tight around the waist. He could hear her muttering, "Oh no, I don't like this. Oh, I really don't like this." Harry urged Buckbeak forward. They were gliding quietly toward the upper floors of the castle. Harry pulled hard on the left-hand side of the rope, and Buckbeak turned. Harry was trying to count the windows flashing past. "Whoa," he said, pulling backward as hard as he could. Buckbeak slowed down, and they found themselves to a stop. Unless you counted the fact that they kept rising up and down several feet as the hippogriff beat his wings to remain airborne. "He's that," Harry said, spotting Sirius as they rose up beside the window. He reached out and, as Buckbeak's wings fell, was able to tap sharply on the glass. Black looked up. Harry saw his jaw drop. He leapt from his chair, hurried to the window, and tried to open it, but it was locked. "Stand back!" Hermione called to him, and she took out her wand, still gripping the back of Harry's robe with her left hand. "Hello, Mahora!" The window sprang open. How, said Black weakly, staring at the hippogriff. "Get on, there's not much time," said Harry, gripping Buckbeak firmly on either side of his sleek neck to hold him steady. "We've got to get out of here. The Dementors are coming. McNair's come to get them." Black placed a hand on either side of the window frame and heaved his head and shoulders out of it. It was very lucky he was so thin. In seconds he had managed to fling one leg over Buckbeak's back and pulled himself onto the hippogriff behind Hermione. "Okay, Buckbeak, up," said Harry, shaking the rope. "Up to the tower. Come on." The hippogriff gave one big sweep of its mighty wings, and they were soaring upward again, high as the top of the West Tower. Buckbeak landed with a clatter on the battlements, and Harry and Hermione slid off him at once. "Sirius, you'd better go. Quick," Harry panted. "They'll reach Professor Flitwick's office any moment. They'll find out you're gone." Buckbeak paved the ground, tossing his sharp head. "What happened to the other boy?" Spoke Sirius. "He's going to be okay. He's still not out of it, but Madame Pomfrey says she'll be able to make him better. Quick, go." But Black was still staring down at Harry. "How can I ever think?" "Go!" said Harry and Hermione together. Black wheeled Buckbeak around, facing the open sky. "We'll see each other again," he said. "You are truly your father's son, Harry." He squeezed Buckbeak's sides with heels. Harry and Hermione jumped back as the enormous wings rose once more. The hippogriff took off into the air. He and his rider became smaller and smaller as Harry gazed after them. Then a cloud drifted across the moon. They were gone. And that is the end of this second to last chapter of Book 3. Join me next week for the end of the book. And yes, this now has taken the longest chapter reading thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye!